Narcissistic mothers are solely programmed to think of themselves as the center of the universe, and that includes seeing themselves as being more important than their own children. Here are 10 ways narcissistic mothers destroy their daughters. 1. She gaslights. Gaslighting is a favored narcissist manipulation tactic, and daughters are certainly not exempt from this style of abuse. The narcissistic mother's agenda is always centered around getting whatever she wants, and making sure she always looks good to the world around her. So, to keep her agenda in check, she will gaslight her daughter without batting an eyelid. Examples of how a narcissistic mother will gaslight her daughter: denying past conversations, changing the details of past events to suit herself, withholding love and attention as punishment for going against her, shifting the focus off her own wrongdoings and blaming someone else instead, belittling and invalidating her daughter's feelings, emotions and concerns. 2. She's extremely controlling. Narcissistic mothers see the daughters as merely extensions of themselves, rather than individual beings with their own needs and desires. Appearances are everything to the narcissistic mother, so her daughter must completely fit into her mold of how she expects to be seen publicly. This extremely controlling nature means that the daughter is not allowed to form her own healthy boundaries. By default, the narcissistic mother expects to have full access to her daughter so she can control all her moves. This is instilled in her daughter from the very day she is born. 3. She denies her daughter's emotional needs. The emotional needs of the narcissistic mother's daughter are nothing more than an inconvenience to her. In fact, her daughter's emotions may even take attention away from the narcissistic mother, which she absolutely cannot have. A narcissistic mother will actively quash and disregard her daughter's emotions, as a way of reiterating that she is the only important one in the room. 4. She objectifies her daughter. Ultimately, narcissistic mothers see their daughters as objects they can use to gain supply. It's no different to being a handbag, that purely exists to fulfill the needs of the narcissist, and to make them look good. Narcissistic mothers will use their daughters to gain attention, and to prop up their false reality of being perfect and superior. Examples include flaunting her daughter's good looks, talents, skills or achievements. All of these things make the mother look superior and successful by association. However, since the narcissistic mother believes that she is the most superior being, she will genuinely believe that her daughter's achievements or positive attributes are all a result of her own greatness. 5. She has unrealistic expectations. The narcissistic mother has an insatiable need for constant validation and approval from the outside world. This is how she gains regular evidence that her fantasy delusion of superiority is true. As a result, the narcissistic mother expects her daughter to be a tool in her stage show of amazingness. Along with this role comes heavy and unrealistic expectations to look and behave in a certain way. Whatever the narcissistic mother deems as important, she will expect that of her daughter, regardless of what her daughter's needs or wants are. 6. She invalidates her daughter to tear her down. One of the narcissistic mother's biggest fears is her daughter rising above her. To avoid being outshone by her daughter, she will invalidate her and intentionally tear her down. It all makes her feel incredibly powerful and superior, while securing her position at the top. Another painful aspect of how narcissistic mothers destroy their daughters is by projecting their own disowned traumas onto them. Then their ego will attack the daughter, as a way of trying to eradicate that wounding from her existence. 7. Her love is conditional. The narcissistic mother amputated her true self as a childhood trauma response, without which she can no longer experience authentic love. The closest thing she can experience to love is when she gets hits of narcissistic supply, in the form of adulation and attention. Her immature understanding of love is wrapped up in a belief in performing correctly to receive praise, attention and affection. Therefore, when the daughter behaves in a way that she approves of, and supports her fantasy, she can be kind and generous. But, when her daughter shows up in ways that she disapproves of, or goes against the fantasy, she will be cruel and cold. Withholding affection and attention are common tactics of the narcissistic mother. As a result, she creates a childhood environment hinged on love being conditional, based on how the daughter performs for her mother. 8. She accepts zero accountability. The backbone of narcissistic personality disorder is the absolute avoidance of their own flaws and imperfections. The narcissistic mother's ego has built an entire delusion for her to live in, which has her truly believing in her own perfection. For the narcissist's ego to protect her from the truth of who she really is, it must deflect and extinguish any incoming evidence that goes against the false narrative of perfection. This is why narcissistic mothers will never genuinely say sorry, or take responsibility for any of their atrocious words and behaviors. If someone needs to be held accountable for any wrongdoings, she will immediately shift the blame onto either her daughter or someone else. 9. She guilt trips. Daughters of narcissistic mothers are emotionally blackmailed through their mother's regular guilt trips. For a successful guilt trip to work, the narcissistic mother will somehow paint herself as the poor victim, while energetically making her daughter feel obliged to go along with her agenda. The daughter has learned from a very early age that going against her mother will result in punishment. This punishment could be the withholding of affection, attention, or support. Or it might induce rage and anger in her mother, which then pushes her into doing what her mother wants out of fear. Lastly, 10. She's inconsistent. The narcissistic mother lives in a completely fabricated performance-based reality. This means that for her to get validation and approval, she strategically performs in a way that generates the artificial responses she so desperately craves. And she expects the same of her daughter, with one exception. All of the attention must funnel to the mother, not the daughter. You can see how the narcissistic mother destroys her daughter's self-worth, identity, and confidence with this confusing dilemma. On one hand, the daughter is expected to appear amazing enough to make her mother look good. Yet, she can't be too good, because then she will outshine her mother, who must always sit at the top of the pyramid. This creates inconsistent behavior from the mother towards her daughter, as she bounces between praise and devaluation. If you're the adult daughter of a narcissistic mother, creating firm boundaries and seeking therapy is imperative for you. For more information, head to unmaskingthenarc.com.